Hello again, class of 2022. I'm Abigail Huntley, the M2 Osmosis representative for Rush Medical College. This is the second video in the Rush Osmosis series, so if you're not sure what osmosis is or what I'm talking about right now, please go back and watch the first video, Intro to Osmosis. In this video, we'll be talking about how to utilize the class workspace and the uploaded class documents to study effectively as a class so that everyone can succeed. As I mentioned in my first video, throughout the school year, every single document that you will be using in your studies will be uploaded to this workspace, Rush Med 2022. Each document is uploaded to correspond to the specific date and time for which it is relevant. Your pre-matriculation materials will be found on the calendar under the date September 5th, 2018, which is the day of your first case once you get to campus. Before you use the documents uploaded here to study, we encourage you to take the pre-tests for each subject. I will be uploading a separate video showing in detail how to find the pre-tests in Osmosis, but for now just know that a written version of these instructions is the first document that you'll find in the September 5th folder, and you can see it right here at the top. In this folder, you can see that there are several documents uploaded. We'll use the first one under the Immunology and Microbiology Pre-Matriculation Self-Study Materials Part 1 to demonstrate some of the main features available to you when working with uploaded documents. First of all, if you click on the preview for a document, it opens the document in a new tab. And it opens to show a workspace with several options for annotation and assessment. Up at the top here, you can see that right now I've just got a cursor, but you've also got a highlighter. You can pick a variety of colors and widths, and you've got a pen. And you can, again, pick a variety of colors and widths. So this annotation is certainly not as comprehensive as if you would be able to do if you're using Notability or Evernote, but it's pretty good for basic stuff. And as you already saw when I click the pen or the highlighter, I have size and color options. And of course, right next to those pen and highlighter, there's an eraser option for you too. Osmosis also gives you the ability to make private notes for yourself. So here I can type in this box, and all of these notes remain private to me. So for example, I'm going to write, ha ha ha. The class of 2022 can't see this note. Except you obviously can because I'm sharing my screen with you. But the fact remains any notes you make in the notes box on the annotation page are private and nobody else will be able to see them. But what is cool is that once you make a note, or once you finish taking all your notes from the document, you can click this orange Review Notes button up at the top of the screen and see a list of all of the notes that you've made. From here, you can hover over any one of these notes to see the original page from the document that you were taking the notes on. And you can also choose to print out your notes either with the slides or without slides. And for any notes that you took that you've included blanks in to eventually put questions, you can click to add them in and to reveal them all so that when you print out your notes, you'll have completed sentences. Again, the main thing about notes is that they're private and nobody can see them except for you. Okay, so next we will make some flashcards. Flashcards are the main way that I used Osmosis during my M1 year because they're quick to flip through and to review. Osmosis also has an algorithm that it uses to help you review concepts for maximum retention, so the flashcards are a super effective study tool. All right, so we've scrolled down a bit and we've gotten to this first page with actual content on it, and we're gonna make a flashcard. So obviously the first step is to click Create Flashcard. That makes total logical sense. Oh, and then I'm just gonna move myself over to this side so that I'm not in your way. So this text box will pop up and now you have some options. Naturally, you can go for the classic question on the front, answer on the back style, in which case you just type the front in the front of card box and the back in the back of card box. What I found to be most useful, however, are fill in the blank cards. And you'll notice that nearly all of the Osmosis made flashcards have this fill in the blank format. So we're going to write one for this first page. And I've already read the first page. You can take time to read it if you want to, or you could just take my word for it about the things that are on here. So I'm going to write the 4 general categories of microorganisms are, double bracket, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites, double bracket, period. Okay, few key points. I wrote this card using double brackets on each side of the part that I want to be blanked out. You can also just underline them using, Command U or the underline option in the text box, but I think it's easier to use the brackets and it works the same way. Doesn't matter, either one will create a blank in your card. Okay, next thing, before we publish this card, we're going to tag it so that it's easier to search for. So I've pre-populated some tags for you. All you have to do to tag a card is go down to Add Tags. It's right above Publish to Group, and it's really tiny. So Add Tags, and then the tags we're going to add are Prematriculation and Microbiology Immunology. So now this is fully tagged. It's searchable under those 2 topics. It's got a blank that is properly set up, and we can publish it to the group. So there we have it. And as you can see, sure enough, it blanked that out, and you can mouse over here for the answer, and it's got the 4 options that I wrote in my original card. All right, let's make another card. This time I want to make multiple blanks, and actually I wrote it in advance because it's kind of long. So I wrote about how Koch's 4 postulates are that the agent is found in diseased animals, not healthy. That's one of my blanks. Second is isolated agent grown in culture away from diseased animal. Third is must cause disease when reintroduced into susceptible animals. And finally, the 4th blank is must be newly isolable from the experimentally infected animals. So you have some options in Osmosis. You could set it so that all 4 of these blanks are blank, which would make it kind of a hard card to study from, or you can set it so that there's only a single blank and that the other 3 are populated each time it comes up, and it would kind of alternate between which one is blanked out and which ones are provided for you. So single blank is this option here, and all blank is this next one here. Whichever you pick, it's up to you, but I'm going to leave this one as a single blank because I think that'll make a better study material. I don't know why it has a, there we go. So that seems like a better flashcard, so I'm setting it up that way. So notice down here, earlier I hit Publish to Group, but there's also the option to save things as private. I highly encourage you to always publish to the group. If you save things as private, you're the only person who can use them, and the professors aren't able to comment or help you with the materials that you're studying. Also, if you make a mistake on a note card, nobody can say, hey, that's not quite right, so you'll be studying wrong material all by yourself with no friends to help you out. Okay, so publish to group. Also, just noticed we forgot to tag this flashcard, so now I'm going to hit Edit and go back in and add the tags. Okay, so when you hit Edit, they all pop up here. And you can hit Edit, which is the second option on the bottom here. So here it is, and I can edit anything about this card, but I'm just going to add tags in, and as before, we're going to use prematriculation and microimmuno, and we're going to save and close. Now, you might never have made flashcards before, and especially not on a program like Osmosis. So I'm going to make another video discussing best practices for making good flashcards that will be easy for others to use. So keep a lookout for that in a later video. You'll notice that now that I've made these flashcards, they show up on the right side of my screen. I can hide them by clicking this bubble that contains my initials. And as you scroll through this document, you'll be able to see that bubble with the AH on it, and you can click on it to see the cards that I've made. And then you can add the ones that you want to study to your study queue by clicking, well, mine are removed from queue because they're automatically added. But for you, it'll look like this, and you can hit Save to Queue. If you've run into a flashcard that somebody else has made that seems to contain an error, you can comment on it by clicking Comment Edit. So a great example of this is here. I've made a mistake because I've said true, viruses are living. And in fact, if you read Dr. Richards' pre-matriculation materials, that is not true. It's actually false. So we're going to comment on this to correct the record. So I'm going to comment. It's obviously, you can see that it's the first option, comment, and then the second option is edit. So I'm going to comment on this. I'm going to say, actually, this is a mistake. Per Dr. Richards, viruses are not living. Now, obviously, I wrote this card myself. You can also say why you're writing. So I'm going to post that. Now, obviously, I wrote this one myself, so I can just fix it right away. But if you're going through someone else's cards that they've written, you won't be able to edit them. So you're going to want to comment to let people know that there might be a mistake in their cards so that they can fix them so that everybody can have correct information with which to study. I've always found this a super helpful feature of Osmosis because I'm sometimes a little bit dyslexic, and I will sometimes say that something increases when actually it decreases, and other little mistakes like that, like saying it is living when actually they're not living. And it's easy to make little mistakes like that when you're making a ton of flashcards. So having my flashcards critiqued by my classmates has really helped make my studying better. So fast forward a few days from when I made that initial correction to this flashcard that says viruses are living, which of course is not true. Viruses are not living. And you'll see that someone else has made a comment, and it's Dr. Richards, who's your discipline director for microbiology and immunology. So let's see what she said. She posted additional info, and she says, good catch. Viruses are not actually alive. They can replicate, but only using the resources of host cells. So one of my favorite things about Osmosis is that our professors actually have Osmosis accounts and they have access to everything that we post publicly. So again, that's another reason that it's really ideal to post everything to the group and not as a private material. Because if I had posted this and then not corrected my error, and Dr. Richards hadn't been able to see it, then I would be studying wrong information. But as it is, Dr. Richards is really diligent and really enjoys going in and reviewing the things that we are using as study materials to make sure that we have it right, to give us more information, to refine the way we're thinking about things, and just to generally help us along. So let's see if she's made any other comments on any of the other things I've added. Oh, here's another one. So in this one, Dr. Richards thinks that the way I worded the question is difficult to understand. So I wrote, a susceptible target which is limited to specific cell types is called a tropism. She thinks it would be more helpful if it read blank determines a virus's tropism, or blank refers to the specific cell type a virus is able to infect. So this is an example of a total expert in the field, Dr. Richards, who's just amazing, and you're going to love having her as your course director for host defense and host response, giving some advice on how best to study the material in a subject where I'm really not an expert, so I don't know what's going to be easier to remember or understand, but having her there to give us guidance is really helpful. Now currently Dr. Richards is the most consistent user of Osmosis amongst our faculty, but several other faculty have expressed interest in using it. Dr. Shannon, who's the course director for vital fluids and for vital gases, so quite a big chunk of your year, has also expressed his willingness and interest in commenting on cards that are made publicly for his subject matter. And we're trying to get the other faculty on board as well. And it's looking pretty promising. So I would say that if you are missing the classic classroom experience when you get into Rush and you really want more FaceTime interfacing with your professors, this is one manner in which you can really do that effectively. So again, I highly encourage you to utilize the fact that your professors are all on Osmosis to get the most out of this study tool. Now, if you really love the way someone in your class writes flashcards, you'll be able to select to follow them. That option isn't coming up for me to show you right now because you can't follow yourself because you automatically just get all the cards that you made. but following someone makes it easier for you to select their cards when you go to review. Like I said before, flashcards are probably the most high-yield study tool you have for working with class documents in Osmosis. However, they're not the only study tool available to you, so let's briefly explore the other options that you have. In addition to flashcards, we can write questions to study from. These can be great as a focused review before a block exam, or writing them can actually really help you refine your knowledge. You can see here that once you click Create Question, you have a whole bunch of options that pop up to help you craft a really, really good question. First, you have an option of what kind of question you're writing. I'm going to write a multiple choice question, but you can also write true-false, label matching, or fill-in factoid questions. Although all types of questions are helpful, I do want to point out to you that all of the boards are made up of entirely multiple choice questions, so that is generally the most useful. You can also pick what order you want the answers to appear in, which is helpful if you have an all of the above option or a both A and B option. Otherwise, you can allow them to be randomized so that the answers are in a different order each time the question comes up. All right, so let's write our question. I'm going to write, based on the material on this page, naked viruses contain all of the following components except, and I'm going to put except in caps, okay? And then let's see how many options we need. I think we'll need 4. So we'll write structural proteins, non-structural proteins. I just had a dyslexic moment. Nucleic acids, and finally a membranous envelope, which is of course the correct answer. And since that's correct, I'm going to click that little dot next to it to indicate that it's the correct answer. Okay, so this is the basic structure of our multiple choice question. And the last thing that we can do is add an explanation of why this is the correct answer. So we can either add explanations under each choice explaining why each is right and wrong, which is possible but kind of tedious, or you can add it down in the main explanation box right here. I like to do it with the main explanation box because I think it makes questions on the whole easier to read when I'm quizzing myself. And I wrote my main explanation earlier today. I just have to find it. There they are. It's this whole paragraph here. I'm just going to copy and paste. So last but not least, as we did with flashcards, we're going to tag this question. And so we're going to tag it with pre-matriculation and microbiology immunology. And once again, we're going to publish it to the group so that everyone can use it. And there you have it. We have a question. All right, so there's just one last thing I want to show you on this document view. You can see over on the right-hand side that there are some terms that have popped up. This means that Osmosis is able to offer you additional resources relating to these terms. So if I click this one on DNA structure down here, then, so if I click the one that says DNA structure, this box popped up showing me what Osmosis can offer relating to DNA structure. And this is actually a really good one because, as you can see, it has a didactic video and it has some flashcards and even a board review question. You can also use this page, if you scroll down, to search your class documents in order to find other places where this key concept comes up. So let's click on this. And as you can see, okay, well, this is last year's documents. So let's check for this year's documents. There we go. As you can see, this subject has popped up in 3 different documents down here. Each one of them is shown in this timeline. Okay, so I've clicked on the biochemistry self-study, and look at all of these page numbers down here that have to do with this timeline search, DNA structure. So as you can see, this can really help you easily find something in your course documents when you're trying to review a particular concept. We'll talk more about Osmosis's content in the next video, but the last thing I wanted to show you is that if you go all the way to the bottom of this resources page that popped up when we clicked that term at the side of our document, you can scroll all the way down to find this other resources page. And this, it will tell you which pages of the book First Aid are dealing with this particular concept. So I find this extremely helpful when I'm studying for Step 1 and reviewing for summative exams, because First Aid is a huge book and it has such great information, but trying to navigate through it can be a little bit overwhelming. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew this was here and that it's a really useful way to organize your studying when you're using First Aid. So this is turning into a really long video, but we're almost done, I promise. So let's go back to the calendar page, and we can once again see all of our documents, and if I could scroll down and show you the other subjects as well, but we're going to just stay here. You'll notice this Analyze Text button. When you click it, it analyzes your class document and makes a list of all of the high-yield pathology, high-yield physiology, and high-yield pharmacology mentioned in the document. And from here, you can select to study one of these important topics. And again, it brings you to the resource page. Or you can quiz yourself, and it will bring you to all of the flashcard questions available for that particular topic. I find this feature extremely helpful when I study for exams. You can review each individual high-yield item, or you can quiz yourself on all of the high-yield physiology or pathology that's contained in your document. You can also do this for an entire day, an entire week, or an entire month. So you can adjust the time span up here at the top to do it for your entire block if you want, although that can be pretty overwhelming when you see how much you've learned. Last but not least, how do I find the flashcards and questions that I want to use, but which other people have written? So let's go to our quiz builder. I'm going to go back to course documents, go down to quiz builder. Here you can select whether you want to review cards or questions made by anyone, made by just yourself, or made by people that you want to follow. So that's why it's important to follow the people whose cards you like, so that you can easily put together quizzes for yourself that have the best materials in them. You can also switch between decks for your current course and decks for your board review, which are located in long-term decks. Finally, if you highlight one of the decks and hit these three dots, you can select Filter by Calendar / Source, and you get this Quiz by Calendar page that pops up. From here, you can pick flashcards made from a document on a certain date. So as you can see, you've got a calendar in the center. You can pick flashcards written by certain people, or you can choose questions instead by changing from cards down to questions down here. So once you make all the changes that you want and have the perfect specifications, you can just hit Build Quiz, and then all of the cards that you've selected will be available to you to start reviewing. All right. I know that once again I have thrown a ton of information your way very quickly, so please feel free to contact me with any struggles that you may be having. I'll see you in the next video where we'll talk more about Osmosis's resources and how they're organized to optimize our study experience. Thanks for watching, and see you soon.